if I told you there's a fighting method that can drastically turn the tables in a self-defense situation? Sound too good to be true? Well, I'm going to teach it to you today. Let's check it out. Today, I'm talking about clinching in a street fight, not for sport, not for competition, but for real-world self-defense. Believe me, there's a big difference. In my contemporary fighting arts system, I define clinch fighting as the process of strategically locking up with your assailant while both of you are still standing. This isn't about setting up a takedown in an MMA match or expecting a referee to come and break it up. It's about controlling the street fight before it spirals out of control. Now, your ability to clinch effectively determines whether you stay on your feet or end up on the ground. And trust me, in a real street fight, the last place you want to be is on the pavement, especially if there are multiple attackers. But here's why clinch fighting is such a critical skill. It nullifies your opponent's punching arsenal. By closing the distance and getting inside their strikes, you shut down their ability to land clean punches while positioning yourself to unleash devastating close quarter attacks, such as headbutts, elbows, knees, and other destructive techniques they won't see coming. The biggest advantage of mastering clinch fighting is that most people don't know how to fight inside this range. The average person on the street might know how to throw a few punches, but when they're suddenly trapped in close quarters, they panic. And believe me, I know from firsthand experience, when I force my opponents into a clinch, they become panic-stricken because it's human nature to fear the unknown. Now, if you want to dive deeper into these techniques, I cover them extensively in my book, Engage with Rage, and its companion instructional video. Both of these break down the exact methods you need to dominate the clinch and control your opponent with ruthless efficiency. You can get the book through the link in the description down below, and the instructional video is available for purchase on my website at sammyfranco.com. But if you're a War Machine Elite member, you can watch it for free starting today as part of your exclusive membership perks. So if you're not already a War Machine member, now's the time to join and unlock the benefits. Okay, let's talk about the right way to clinch in a street fight. Tommy? When we clinch, it's important to overlap both hands behind the neck. Let's turn, just get a view here. We never interlace the fingers. Tommy, bring your head back a little bit. And that squeezes my fingers and it's excruciating. We always overlap fingers. Okay, we never interlace, we overlap. We always keep it on the base of the neck. Tommy, bring your head up high. There you go. Now from this position, it's important to bring both forearms down on the collarbone. We don't want our elbows flared out because again, we lose leverage. We want the elbows down and forceful. We're keeping them in this locked position. Our stance is a 50-50 weight distribution. Our knees are bent and our body is angled at a 45 degree. Because it's important, we may go back and forth in this position. There's going to be a tremendous amount of energy involved when you lock up inside the clinch. So always remember, 50-50 weight distribution, knees bent, shoulder width apart. When you lock in the clinch, you want those forearms to really drive down against that collarbone forcefully. You're really controlling him, keeping him in place. So when I have both hands behind his neck, it's called a neck clamp. And what this does, when you drive both forearms down against his collarbone, it prevents mobility of the head. Tommy, move around if you can. There's very little. Okay, now I'm not gonna clamp down as hard. My elbows are gonna be a bit loosey-goosey. Tommy, move around. Okay, now one more time. Now do it. He's not going anywhere. Okay, so again, the neck clamp, along with those forearms driving down against those collarbones, is gonna prevent the head from moving around. There are times in a street fight where your opponent will also clinch back with you. This is particularly common with people who are involved in MMA or have a wrestling background. So if Tommy and I, let's say there's an engagement, he has the clinch, I have the clinch. Now notice how I have the outside position, Tommy's on the inside of my arms. So he has the actual tactical advantage because he has the leverage to pull me down. Okay, Tommy, pull down. I really don't have that kind of leverage. He's on the inside. So what you want to do is you want to swim inside, and now you have the inside position. This is really important because this gives you the leverage to do a tremendous amount of striking damage. It also opens up his center line
And more importantly, Tommy, try to actually pull my head down from this position. Now I'm gonna try to keep your head up a little higher, Tommy, and now I'm gonna pull yours down. Try to fight it, Tommy. He can't. So the inside position gives you a tremendous amount of leverage. And finally, if you have the inside position, you can trap his limbs, what I call anchoring. And that's a much more advanced topic that I will cover in a future video. So for example, if I have the inside position on Tommy, and let's say I want to anchor, I would swim around and trap this limb. This actually will allow me to do different types of techniques from the inside position. There's a very basic drill we use in contemporary fighting arts called the swimming drill. And basically this is designed to get you and your partner used to moving your hands on the inside position when engaged in a fight. So Tommy's gonna start, he's got the inside position, I have the outside position. It's my turn, I'm gonna swim in with one and then the other. Now it's Tommy's turn, one and the other. And we go back and forth. Now this can be used with a lot of energy. We're actually being stationary for the camera, but you can actually start really being forceful when you actually move in back and forth. So this is called a swimming drill. It's a great way to get acquainted with how to maintain the inside position in a fight. So again, here's the neck clamp, but I want to cause damage. I want to incapacitate this individual. The only way to do that is to let go with one hand. Now, of course, you can headbutt, not in this position, Tommy head up higher. You can headbutt from this position right here, but more often than not, you're going to have to attack other targets. So what we have to do is we anchor with one hand holding on to the nape of the neck, and this hand is going to do the damage. Once you anchor onto the adversary, you can open up your arsenal. Now I'm going to show you just a few offensive techniques in contemporary fighting arts. There is a lot. I'm just going to show you a few. From this anchor position, we can hammer fist the nose, we can palm jolt, we can eye rake, we can gouge, we can come across with independent elbow strikes, be it horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. We can utilize shaving forms which are just brutal against the face. You can also headbutt. You can headbutt with only one hand. You don't need two. It's just as effective. Now, it's important to mention when you're delivering these strikes, one of two things will happen. Number one is he will do anything in his power to disengage this range. Now, this is based on actual experience that I've had in fights. When I engage that clinch and I start striking and I'm anchored on, they do anything to get out of that range. They start backpedaling and they start swinging wildly. It doesn't have any effect because you're locked into them and you're causing all of this damage. It's really interesting when you do this in the clinch, you can actually feel the fear. It's palpable. And it just shows you what an overwhelming effect it has on someone who's not familiar with this range. That's the one thing that can occur. The second thing is it can crowd. Crowding is when he actually tucks inside to help negate the effectiveness of your strike. So what he's essentially doing is trying to get inside of that clinch so it's not effective. And we have a technique called a biceps pop. So when he's inside tight, we pop the bicep. That shoots his head out. Now we're going to use the bicep right at the top upper portion of the bicep. That's going to shoot his head back. It's going to create distance and allow us to continue with our offensive strikes. So again, two possibilities. He'll try to disengage or he'll crowd. And you're going to have an answer for both. So let's go over some defensive clinch fighting techniques. For example, in a street fight, people love to tackle. They have upper body tackles, mid body tackles, and of course lower body tackles. Now against an upper body tackle, if we were in a pre-contact situation where I was de-escalating or even setting up a first strike, and Tommy came over here, and let's say for example, Tommy was going to initiate an upper body tackle. Now from a de-escalation point, he engages with it. I'm gonna stiff arm jam, which is a technique that I teach in many of my books and my videos. And from this position here, I would engage the actual clinch. So the idea from this technique is to negate the energy, arrest the energy, and then engage in an actual clinch position. Another example of using the defensive clinch is against a punch. For example, let's say I'm de-escalating a situation with Tommy, I'm trying to defuse a situation, he throws a haymaker, I mid-block. Now of course from this position, I could palm strike, I could elbow, but you can also engage the clinch and strike from here. For example, using headbutts, knee strikes, you can go into different types of widowmaker techniques, assuming it's warranted and justified in the eyes of the law. But all I'm saying is that you can also defensively clinch off an offensive attack such as a haymaker or a punch. Most importantly, the defensive clinch is ideal when you're defending against someone who is going berserk, throwing a flurry of punches
trying to overwhelm your defensive structure. Using the clinch can immediately negate this type of assault. What I've covered here are just the basics of clinch fighting for my contemporary fighting arts system. There's so much more to this topic, such as advanced setups, counters, escapes, and specialized clinch tactics, including those integrated into my Widowmaker program for extreme combat situations. So make sure you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.